And the focus is right now just getting the house done, getting into the house, and then we can work on other things later.
This is for Grandma.
Okay. She's so cute. Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm Holly with Holly's Mom Life. So we are wrapping up the building of our house. We should be moving in the next week or so. So I wanted to do kind of a things I wish I knew before I started building. This whole kind of journey for me, the reason why I put a lot of it on YouTube is because I want to give somebody a point of reference if they're curious about something like this, or if they're curious about, you know, what is it really like building a house? Because, you know, builders will tell you one thing, people that have gone through it and maybe forgotten how crazy it can be will tell you another. But I just have, I think it's 8 things that I've kind of thought about, written down that I wanted to share with you, kind of things that I wish I knew before we started building. So I kind of did a little research online to see like what I could find, and I felt like a lot of the answers were not, I feel like they were more from a perspective of somebody either trying to get you to build or trying to get you not to build, not necessarily a perspective of somebody who has built and, you know, came out on the other side, survived, and just like gives you just kind of a real world, like this is really how it went. So today I wanted to, share with you things I wish I knew before I started building. Alright, so first thing is the biggest thing. Things will go wrong. Be prepared. If nothing goes wrong, that's great. But I'd say I was naive in the beginning, thinking that everything was going to work out, there was going to be no issues, no hiccups, and I kind of paid the price for it. So biggest thing is, I feel like when you, well, and this kind of goes with the second point too, but when you start thinking about like, oh, well, you know, we need to have a contingency fund, whatever, and it just, you got to make sure that you have money set aside, or at least a contingency plan of some sort to handle when things do go wrong. And like I said, if nothing goes wrong, great, but be prepared for it to go wrong, because it will bite you in the butt if you don't. Number 2, things will cost more than you think. I'd say for us, starting out, there was a few things that we got quotes for. So like the electrical and the septic system, and both those things ended up being a lot more than what we were expecting to pay. And I think it all boils down to, depending what time of year you're doing it, depending on what types of things that you may not know that you need for your particular property or whatever, well, things will change. And I would say if I had to do it over again, we might try to allocate like an extra, you know, 10 to 20,000 just in potential price increases. The good news is the company that we go through has like a 6-month price increase guarantee, or sorry, price guarantee. So basically that means is like if you sign a contract with them, say, yes, we're going to build with you, and then you have 6 months basically to start the foundation work, and your price will stay the same. But you know, just like the market and everywhere else, prices do go up, so you have to be aware of that. So if you aren't planning on starting right away, you obviously have to let them know that. So that was kind of nice. So we didn't have to worry about extra costs with the house, but you know, everything that went along with the house. You know, you get into issues that you don't realize that you're going to need more money for. So just be prepared. It'll probably cost more than people tell you. So I'd say literally add it. It could be between 10% more or like 50% more. So be prepared. Number 3, it will get really stressful. I would say one of my videos, I think I was talking about halfway through the process, I was really hitting a low point. I was overwhelmed. I was frustrated. I felt like things were going wrong left and right. And everyone was like, oh, you got to spend money here. You got to spend money there. And I was so frustrated. And I really think that if I had to do it over again, I probably would have tried to find things to help me manage my stress level better. I mean, even just like allocating like even if it's just an evening or a weekend to be like, we're not going to talk or think about building the house or whatever. We're going to go do something that we like to do. I think, you know, trying to find ways to distract yourself, maybe a hobby. I feel like doing things with my hands sometimes help, like whether it be cooking or even just cleaning. Cleaning to me is so therapeutic. Like I can't even tell you how therapeutic cleaning can be. So I feel like being proactive about knowing that things will be stressful, and I feel like when you're right in the middle of the building process is when it's hardest, because you have no idea and everything is up in the air there. So yes, learn how to manage the stress. Number 4, in the end, it will be worth it. In the end, you know, with the builder we went with, like I said, we are basically building a house for X amount of money, and it should be worth at least 20% more when we're done. So in some ways, you're putting a lot of the work in now, but it's gonna be worth it in the end, and your house will actually be, like if we turned around and sold our house more, we could probably make a good like 20% more than what we paid into it, just from, you know, when it's done. So it will be worth it. Try to look at the end goal and like see the completed house. It will be worth it. Number 5, you will second guess yourself a lot. Go with your gut. So we've had a few projects. Like one of them was we were going to maybe build a storage shed, and my husband was going to pour concrete and do this and that and the other, and we do. And the thing is, we do a lot of research online, but you would be shocked at how much of like what you hear online doesn't always translate into what it really is going to be in real life. So like the one thing was he was looking up concrete because he was going to pour a concrete pad, because we were going to pour a concrete pad and just leave it and then build a shed in the future. But after going through and online, it looked like it was going to be like $100, I think, a yard or something. And so he like did it all up, and I think he said he needed 3, maybe 4 yards. So he was thinking like $300 to $400. Well, then when you actually call and talk to these like concrete companies in our area, they're like, well, anything under 5 yards is considered a short load, so they add like an upcharge there, an upcharge here. So by the end of it, it was going to be closer to like $1,000. So do your research. And sometimes, so we had to scrap the projects. So sometimes you just have to scrap it and be like, look, it wasn't required for occupancy. It wasn't something that we had to do. But also, we're building a deck on our house, and we decided that it's better to build the deck now and use up some of our extra funds that way than to leave it as just the temporary steps and try to figure out when to build it later. Because truthfully, it probably won't get done for a while. So go with your gut. Things might change, you know, follow and be flexible enough to kind of change. And sometimes you have to adjust your expectations too. So, and that's okay. So number 6, I already said it. Your priorities might change. Be flexible. We started out with all these plans. We were going to do gardens, and we were going to do, you know, sod, and we were going to do like this big shed. But, you know, things got more expensive, so you have to find ways to trim it down out of your budget. So now we are going to be starting with, you know, we're not doing the garden this year. We're not going to be doing a few things that I was hoping to do, but it's because we had to be flexible. So things might change. Be flexible. Just know that, you know, priorities, things that might be, and things that you might have thought were like super important at the beginning of the build might not seem so important when you get close to the end. And that's okay. So just flexibility is key. And I think that also helps your stress level when you're a little bit less like it has to be this way, and you can be more like, okay, you know, the main goal is where our house will be done, we can be moving in, we can be living in it, and then over the course of the next 6 months or a year when the weather's still great because we're getting into summer, well, we're in summer, it's a lot easier to work on things than it would be to, you know, try to be doing it when you're living in a different location and all sorts of craziness. All right, number 7. This is one that I have talked about a little bit before. Sweat equity is king. So our house, we are paying for a house that'll be worth 20% more when we move in. So a lot of work we've done on our own. I mean, land clearing, we got the help with another guy, but my husband rented the equipment. He did a lot of the work himself. We bought a tractor to basically help with it. And so he's used the tractor a lot to like clear land. And when I say clear land, like move dirt around and kind of make our yard a little bit more level, and, you know, create a driveway, and we're kind of creating like an area to park our trailer. So sweat equity is so huge. The other thing we did is we chose to paint the interior of our house by ourselves. We left the outside to the professionals because that's what everyone else will see. But the interior, we decided to put in the work. It was a lot of work. It was a week of like crazy hours for both my husband and I trying to get it painted. But we didn't have to pay nearly $5,000 to have somebody else do it. So that $5,000 that we saved, because we ended up spending for all the tools and the paint like $1,200. So you're saving money. So sweat equity is really important, and it will feel so amazing when you move into a house that's worth more than you put into it right off the bat, so you can enjoy it. So I hope that was helpful. I mean, me just talking about it makes me feel a bit better, because I'm kind of also still giving myself a pep talk knowing that like, think about, you know, what you want out of it, and really know that through the process things might get crazy, but like I said, in the end it's totally worth it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.